Hey folks, good morning. My name is Tom Rigsby from TomRigsby.com. Today we're talking about creating value. It's the end of the week wrap up of a whole week's worth of conversations about keeping your value bucket full. If you don't know what your value bucket is, or you don't know how to create value out of value you receive, stay tuned. This episode of 7 Minutes in the Morning should answer those questions for you. Hey folks, good morning and welcome. This is 7 Minutes in the Morning. It's your daily dose from me, your business coach. My name is Tom Rigsby. Well, all week this week, we've been talking about keeping your value bucket filled. You know, I'm always encouraging you to give value to your customers, 3 times as much value as you ask in return from them. But if you do that on a regular basis, it is possible to deplete your own internal store of value, and that's what I call your value bucket. So we want to find ways to keep that value bucket full. Tuesday we talked about reading, Wednesday was podcasts and blogs, and yesterday it was networking. Now that's an unusual way to refill your value bucket. If you didn't listen to that show, I want you to go back and listen to that one also. Today I want to talk to you about creating value out of that value that comes back in. And it comes with a special admonition. And we'll just go ahead and kick things off with that admonition. It is easy to slip into a pattern of being an information collector if you're taking all this value in. If you spend time reading or listening to books, reading podcasts, reading blogs and listening to podcasts rather, it's very easy to substitute or to characterize that as getting work done. And you slip into this pattern of being an information collector. I'm collecting all this information and I'm not acting on any of it, right? So I don't want you to do that, right? For sure, you still have to get work done. You still have to consume, as you consume that content, you have to use your discernment, as we talked about Wednesday, and translate that into tasks and activities that actually build your business. Right? Tons and tons of people, I can't emphasize this enough, are just collecting information. They don't do anything with the information they collect. They just gather in, and then their business goes stale. Right? So don't do that. This is a real risk for many, many business owners. Now, the second thing I want to remind you about creating value. So I guess out of that first one, you actually have to create value out of the information you collect. The second thing to remember are the different modalities that we've talked about. Reading, listening, and in-person connections. You know, some of those are going to work better for you than others. You're going to have a preferred modality, and that's the one that you're going to gravitate toward, right? Let me remind you that your customers have a preferred modality also. So as you're turning this value around and giving it back to them, maybe they like to hear you talk about your solutions in person rather than on video. Maybe the video is a better explanation of how to solve a problem than a written checklist and explanation of how to do things. They have their own preferences also, and they may not be the same as yours. We have this tendency to slip into this pattern that says, well, because I like podcasts, everybody likes podcasts, and this is the best way to turn this information around. No, that's not necessarily true. They might like to read better. It's an opportunity for them in the morning. Let's say they carve out 30 minutes to read what you write. You need to have something written for them to read, right? So understand that their preferred modality may be different than yours. So how do you solve that problem? Well, there's a couple of ways. Really there's 2 ways. One is just to ask them, what's your preferred modality? Now, you're going to get answers of all of them, right? And basically, you know, reading, watching video, listening to audio. I mean, those are the top 3, right? So you're going to get answers back from your customers, from your client base, of people that prefer one of all 3 of those. Now, you can aim for the middle of the bell curve, pick the one that's most popular, and go with that one. That's certainly a viable and appropriate strategy. But I'm going to suggest another one for you. I want to suggest that you try them all. Now, I know that that sounds difficult and it sounds daunting, and holy crap, I can't even write a blog post, let alone create all this other stuff. So I'll let you in on a little bit of a secret. I was trying to decide whether to do that here or not. I guess I'll go ahead and do it here, right? This podcast comes across in all three of those modalities. You can go to the website, 7minutesinthemorning.com. You can read the content that I create. You can watch the video on YouTube, or you can listen to the podcast through iTunes, Stitcher, whatever your favorite podcast catcher is. Well, that's all three of them. Well, so yeah, sure, that's fine for you, Tom, but you got all the time in the world. Well, actually, I only create it one time. I guess technically two. I write the long form article, and then those long form articles give me, help collect my thoughts for these podcasts. Honestly, they're not scripted at all. I know what I want to talk about, I know the bullet points, and I just come here and record them. And then I take the video podcast, split that out into video and audio, and then I have the written form already done. So that one piece of content, that writing that I did, actually produces multiple forms of content, right? So all I'm doing is delivering the value, delivering the value of that content in all three modalities, so that whoever wants to consume it in their preferred method can consume it in that way. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Now, is it a little bit of work? Sure. Have I outsourced a lot of this work? Absolutely, right? And to those of you who are listening to this, who are doing my outsourcing, thank you very much. You make it all possible for me to deliver this value to my customers. So that might be something that you have to investigate, but it absolutely gives you an opportunity to be everywhere. That's the strategy that we're after. Be everywhere and be in all three modalities so that your customers can get the value the way they want to get it. All right, so that's it for today and for this week. Remember, don't be an information collector. You have to synthesize that, turn it around, and turn it into value for your customers. And please consider delivering that value to your customer in the method they'd like to receive it. That's a very important thing also. All right? So that's a wrap for this week. If you have questions or comments about what the topic we've talked about this week, your value bucket, feeding value back in and replenishing your store, please send me an email, tom@tomrigsby.com. And if you get any value out of these episodes, I'd really appreciate it if you would go to iTunes, leave us a rating or a review. You can get there by going to 7minutesinthemorning.com/iTunes. Takes you right to this show, and you can leave your review and rating. All right? As always, we're heading into the weekend. If this is a restful weekend for you, I hope you rest and recharge so you can, so that you can come back to your business ready to go, fired up and energized next week. If you're working this weekend, I hope it's profitable for you and that you don't overdo it. Until Monday, my name is Tom Rigsby, and I'm your business coach.